So my name is Carlos. My name is Carlos, and I'm going to go over a few items here. I'm going to go over customer care. I'm going to go over setup and hamburger menu, and if we have time, I'm going to touch on the window process. Okay. So I'm connecting to, this is one of the servers that we use, so I'm going to connect to the services with your VO2 server. And I'm going to be playing here. Some of the features are not, this is a blank database, fairly new. We only use this server to compile programs, so doesn't have everything. You might see me moving from the server to my desktop. Okay, so customer care. I think Sonny and his class touch on customer care. I think Miguel, probably Sarah, we kind of all touch on this screen, right? This is one of the main screens in the health system. So I'm not gonna cover everything in customer care. There is a lot, so the only way that you can really get a feel is if you go in and play yourself and click on it and see, locate things yourself. So I'm gonna go into some changes, cool changes that we have here in customer care. Okay. So this is customer care here. I don't know if you noticed, but one of the things that I want to touch on is search functionality. In customer care, and like I said, it all depends who trained the client, or if the client is interested enough to click around or play with the keyboard. Because if you go to customer care, you can actually do the searches here and do the searches here, and you can pretty much believe that this is all you can do in the searches, right? Some customers never took the time to click here and see that there's a search drop down in here, and here there's all kinds of ways that you can search in the system. And if someone goes through here and actually looks at those screens, by looking at it, right off the bat, you're probably going to see that they're not consistent. If I click on name, it looks this way, right? It has a grid in the middle, has a bunch of buttons on top. And I heard a lot of cool jokes about this. One of the customers, when I was in support, called me and opens this screen and says, "Oh, what is that cool little piano on top of the screen?" And I'm thinking, piano? And you know, just like we do, well, let me connect to your computer and see the piano, right? So that is supposed to be a cool way to get to the accounts that start with a K, right? And okay. Now, if I go to a search and go into service address, well, it looks kind of the same, but I lost the piano, and that was another phone call. I lost my piano. And I had to explain that, well, the piano is only on the name and address, it's not on the other searches. Go into meter number. It looks the same, with cool thing that if you click on this one, it pops up a window and gives you little hints. Say, oh, look, if you do Shift F3, I will take you to billing and receivable, and if you do Shift F4, I will take you to customer care. So right off the bat, when the analysis went from moving to the old system to the new system, right off the bat they point this out, saying, well, we need to make it consistent. So that's what we tried to do here in the search. When you see the search, or what is called customer lookup now, you can find name, service address, account, district. The number goes with the service address. They separate it. And if you click on advanced, then you get the meter, search by spouse. This district and key, this has to do with the user defined field. And they all work the same. If you type, you don't have to type the whole thing, you just type a few letters and hit enter, and it'll do a search. And search and gives you a grid. So all those searches that were not consistent on the old system are all together in a consistent, in combined way. Let me go ahead and look up an account. So looking up an account by name, just type that, click on the link. If I click here, there, it won't. Okay, you're just paying attention to what I did. In case someone is this detail. If I just click once here, it doesn't do it. If I click once on the link, it will pull it up, right? So any link, anything that has a link, blue highlighted, you just click once and it'll take it. If not, you have to click twice. Moving to the next record. Okay, so on the old system. Moving to the next record is this here, right? Moving to the next record, open down. And now if you pay attention to the account number here, it's moving to the next record by account number. Some customers, by request, they go to the next record by something else, by service address. I think Northeast might be one of them. In the new system, you can go to the next record and choose if you want to go to the next record by account number, or by name, or by service address. By default, it defaults on by account. So if I click next here, if we just keep an eye on here, it'll just go up to the next account number. Let's go back. If I change this to name and hit next, it'll just give me a whole random number here. So it's definitely not going by this. But now if we pay attention to the name, it's going to the next CAR. Right. Same with service address. It's right here. Next record. With the next record, I want to touch on this buttons here. Reset in actions. So if I double right click this, you guys know what that is? Because there's no title on this thing. Nope.
Recently selected.
Recently selected. Yes. I had several little phone calls on this one when this first came out, because I can double right click and it only displays 15, and we have a lot more than 15 lines here. There's no title. And the issue about what does the 15 accounts that you access or the 15 accounts that you change is actually, I guess, gives you both. This one, they're separate. So recent accounts is the last accounts that you access. You just view. Action, those are the accounts that you actually took action on. You actually made a change. So it'll list them here. So they're separated. Actions, accounts that you made change and took action on and actually hit edit and save. And recent is just accounts that you just viewed, you just open up. Sonny already touched on the grid. I'm just going to point out a few more things that you can do with the grid. The one that Sonny loves is those exporting to CSV, and next he's an analytic person. So as soon as he saw that you can export, that he just loved that, right? He didn't even show you the copy grid. It just puts all that information on a notepad, and from here you can either press Ctrl+C or right click copy and paste it into your notepad. for a quick view, if you're doing some sort of checking something, it's okay. They saying it's not here, and you can do control find and look for it. See if it's true. Yeah, it is there. You probably missed it or not wearing your glasses. So let's close that. Don't say that. One cool little feature that I like about this is saving my configuration. If you want to save, let's say that you take the type of account and move it here, because that's what I like to do. I like to see my account and I like to see what the type of account is of that account. You can right click and say save my configuration, and it'll tell you, do you want to save the grid's configuration, and say yes, it's saved for my user. I'm logged in as user 88. So if I close the user 88, so the next time I close this here, I go in, it'll save my change. This is saved by user. Even if you log out or close the program, it'll save it. Log out. Let's try it. Logged in as 88. There it is, type of account. The only way that you can get rid of this, let's say that you no longer like type of account and actually you just want to delete it out of there, you can do that. So you can actually delete my configuration, and if say yes, first of all you have to delete the configuration, and it sets back the default. And you're back to the default. If you just want to do a temporary change, let's say that you're just looking at service address and type of accounts, something like that. You're just doing a quick search and looking at your type of accounts. I don't know, something. You're doing something with the grid that you're doing this. Here, let me close it. This is what I wanted to do. I want to do restore configuration. Okay. What I learned that happens here is that in the background here, I think Sonny already showed you that there's ways you can sort. In the columns, actually it doesn't display them all, but there is a lot more columns that you can add and take out in here. So when you do that, it kind of resets it and displays, puts a check on most of them. And that's something that I noticed when I was getting ready for this. But once you get out, you go back in. Even if you do restore, it does that again.
If you right click, go to right click button, and then go to right click or restore my computer.
So yeah, so what I'm pointing out is restore. And restore, I'm showing what it does now. I'm not saying that that's right, it's just how it behaves right now. The only way that you can redo that is to delete your setup. That might be a bug. Just be aware as you're playing with this, and if you see something strange that doesn't make sense. The truth is that it has to make sense, right? That's bottom line. If it doesn't make sense, if it's red, just report it to us. And And look, we'll look at it together. See, now it's back. The only way that I was able to do that is by deleting my configuration. So there's something that I'm still trying to figure out on the restore configuration. If you play with it, if you figure out, let us know. So that's in the lookup. Oh, and all the grids behave the same way. You can do this in all the grids. So the grids are all over the place. In customer care, there's several. There's several here, for instance. Usage history is one of them. Right, so you can do the same. You can move stuff around. You'll have the same features here. Oh, grouping. I didn't show you grouping. I noticed that Sonny didn't show you grouping either. I was wondering why. He loves this feature. When he saw it, he just didn't stop. He couldn't stop using it.
Easiest to show on status. Status account on the same time.
Oh yeah, he likes status of account. Let's do that. It was just funny seeing Sonny when he saw it the first time. He didn't stop smiling for 2 days. Look, that right here. Where is it? It's group by status. Okay, so all the accounts that were in search, they just got grouped into those categories. If there were more categories, they'll be listed here. So I have my all finals. And there's only one all final here in this search. There's only a handful of accounts and all the regulars. So that grouping comes in handy when you're doing a little research. Okay, so I think I showed all the ones that I needed to show here. Okay, I'm on page 2, site by items. The site, I guess, as you, if you were looking at the old system and then all of a sudden just pointing and looking at the new system, the first thing that probably comes or this in front of you is this black bar on this side, the sidebar. And Sonny already kind of touched on this, that every module has a sidebar. Payments, all the sidebar. Close up on this guy. Let's take care of that. I'm using the same database that Miguel was using yesterday. Okay, so let's just unlock the district, same district that Miguel was playing with yesterday. So they all have a sidebar. Okay, and one of the first meetings that I attended when they were doing this, they talked about the first thing that we're going to do with the whole system is look at it, study it, and we're going to divide and conquer. So they use this approach of figuring out all the different ways, all the different problems that a customer has to solve, and how to present them in front of the client so that it's easy for the client to solve an issue. So that's what this idea came about, divide and conquer. So I think of the sidebar as a quick and easy way to of a table of contents, of a search or a screen display organizer. Sonia already showed you that it defaults to customer details. Notice customer details is only the top portion of the L screen. When you're taking a phone call, and one of the first things that they ask you is, what's your service address? Right? So you need to know what's your service address. What's your name? And you're probably checking on emails. And if you have them on the phone, because you want to have everybody communicates by email now, so the email got right here at the front. Make sure they have the right contact information. If you want to deal with billing, answering billing information, and It should be just easy to just glance over here and say, okay, I'm dealing with billing summary, and you should tell that his bill amount, gross and net, the billing by service. If there's any deposits, any notes will be listed here. Those notes are the same notes as this notes. And those notes. All the notes are here. At this point, billing and summary is the only one that shows the notes. We had requests of change, including the notes on not just that screen, but this screen and maybe this screen. But at this point, the notes only show in this screen here. Flags. And flags. Yes, and flags. Well, when I say flags, I'm referring to this here. Those are flags, right? If I click on special needs, that creates a flag here. And the flags will show also in here, notes and flags. So the sidebar, really, it's just the screen display organizer. That's the way I think of it. A quick and easy way of table contents to get faster to where you want to go. If you're trying to answer a question about history or usage, well, there it is, usage and history. You clicked on here, and all the information that has to do with usage history will be here. One other big change: the two main screens that the customer used to answer questions are those two. Do people still call this guy George? Some clients just came and say, I'm clicking the George guy. I'm like, what? The little guy. And I click in the money. Are you guys? No? Do they call it by their name? They go in there and say, oh, I'm clicking, let's see, billing and receivable icon. Do they call it that? When you get a phone call?
Customers don't even use the billing. They just use the customer's care.
Customer care?
And navigate from there.
They navigate from there? Yeah, they don't even use it. Yes, we made the effort to put the stuff in here, and customers don't even use it. They go in customer care, and from here, most of them use the toolbar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just go move back and forth. They don't even bother to go back to the menu. So this screen, toolbar, I have more than one session open. And this screen are the two screens that the customer uses the most. Some unique features that this screen has that the customer doesn't have was the detail breaks the billing information, right? It has detail history. You can do cutoff. You can do return checks from here. The billing history, there's a button on billing history and customer care. There's a button of usage history on the other side. So those two kind of redundant, they repeat. And there's more information here that you don't find in customer care. So those two screens are pretty much the most important screens. We combine those two screens in what we call customer care. Right? So this is my customer care. This right here, customer care. That's where I'm at. Then broken in two sections here. Account summary, billing summary, billing information. You recognize this screen? Arrears, current, payment, adjustment, balance. Okay. The other piece has more to do with usage and history. Right here, billing detail. This is the other tab. Right. If I'm looking at this, this is billing information. Detail history. So billing and receivable we got here. Now there's buttons in this side. What will you categorize those buttons as? If you were to code in something, Well, we also took a while to figure it out, and we just finally called them. Well, they're kind of transactions, aren't they? Alright, so that's where they are. Transaction, payment detail. This is what the payment detail is, adjustment detail. So I don't. All the information from those two screens you will find in here. I think I think it'll be important for you to play with this and get familiar with the labels as you play with this. How I do it to memorize it is when I click on it, I read it out loud. That just means a transaction option and going here like, that's what return check is. It makes sense. It's a transaction, right? That's what I do return checks from. So those two got combined and they're there under a different label. It depends on what they are. So those screens got divided into one piece of it is right here in billing information. The other pieces or buttons are in transaction options and usage and history. Okay, more interesting stuff from customer care. Multi-tabs and multi-sessions. Sonia will show you this, and I'm already kind of doing it. I'm putting tabs in here. If you right click here, I can open another customer care and pull up a different account. Okay, so I just opened two accounts within the same session. Why am I calling it one session? Because I only have one browser open right here. Right? In this one browser, I can pull two records. In the old system, if you wanted to do that, you will have to pull up an account here and say, okay, I want to look at this account. You'll have to find your icon, double click it again, log in, go to customer care, and find an account and pull that record. If you wanted to handle two accounts at one time, right? The deal with that is that by doing that, you use two credentials. In the old system, it's a server-client environment, and when we sell it as that. You need to get a license for a server, a license for each client that is going to connect to the server. And you've probably seen this here. Where's the icon called to look at the license? Config. So this is a enterprise server. It has a limit of 25 and clients 25. So I have 25 licenses. That means that I can have 25 of those sessions open. Now the fact I can open 25 screens and that will use the 25 licenses, or I can have 25 computers and each one open one, and that is using up the license. So that's your sessions, right? So in order, you can actually do multi-sessions in one computer, but you will use licenses as you open a session. In the new system, I can open one record here, and here's another record, and I'm still using one session. Multiple client networking and multi-threading. Right here. Okay, so this is what's happening in the background. Every time I open one of those sessions, networking wide creates a task on your server. So it's each one of those. 1, 2, 3, 4 open. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's my
Config.
That's my config. That's true. 1, 2, 3. So there's this 1, 2, 3 open. That's my client networking. So it opens one of those. It uses CPU and uses a slot of memory every time I open one of those. And the new system is using this too. It's using this OpenEdge app server, but it's multi-threading. So it connects to the server. It uses the same slot of CPU and the same slot of memory, but it threads. Right? So it's the same connection, multi-threads. So that brings performance efficiency on connectivity and networking. We use this OpenEdge app server, and we use OpenEdge character client. Sonny talked about, and even I think even Miguel talked about task. If a task takes more than 200 seconds, it'll fail. That's just a internet rule. So the analysis, anything that takes more than that got moved into a task. The task gets handled in a whole separate agent, OpenEdge character client, and it's handled from here. Okay, two concepts. We move from a concept called backward chaining. I have to look that up to see if it was true. It is exists. You can Google it. Actually, in your deal at the end of the next page, a few links that I used to make sure that I wasn't making this up. So backward chaining and breadcrumb navigation, which Sonny touched on already. So the way we worked going back and forth in the old system, it was something called backward chaining. So it was in a chain. The program had to use memory to remember what program I have open, what program I'm opening next, and what program I'm opening next. And each one was stacking memory on top of it. And within the program, you have to tell your program, well, by default, your program says, okay, I'm going to reserve this much stack of memory. And I don't know if you've seen it, but sometimes you have stack memory errors in the system if you open a lot of sessions. And there's a quick way to fix that. You can just increase the stack of memory in your icon. But here, let me show you. Oh, here, a quick example will be work orders. Work orders is the most notorious because the fact that I'm here. Well, let's go back. The fact that I'm here, I open a program. That's program 1, right? If I click here, I just open another program. That's program. What program is that?
20.
That's program 23. So if I click on this, which is the work orders, I just open another program. That's program 2, SO2, right?
SO, yes.
SO2. It starts with SO. The other one starts with WV. As soon as I click on this, actually, as soon as I start doing this window, that's just another program, right? So this right here, the fact that I click on that and select it, that's a chain. It remembers what program I can just easily go back because they're in the same stack of memory. As soon as I do this, I just move to another session program. As soon as I click print, I just use the whole program. When we were first testing this, we were getting a lot of stack memory errors. I don't think we're getting this now. Well,
no.
Obviously we're not, but we still have some programs that have that problem. When I exit, notice that it kind of blinks real quick. It blinks and it takes you back to customer care. It still has that chain of stack memory, and it cannot go back slowly. It just goes and jumps back to the record that the program says this is my main record. When you click on it, go over here. Otherwise, it'll use more memory as it goes forward.
Yes.
Since then, there's a lot better technology, right? So that's what Sonny and Miguel pointed out, the breadcrumbs, where in work orders the same, here work orders. And I also have a little link about breadcrumbs here in the back. Work orders. As soon as I click on work orders, I'm still in customer care, right? I'll have this open, customer care. I'm going to add. Well, now I'm in it. Now we call this activities. Now I'm in different activity. I was in customer care. Now about to do another activity, work order. See right here? It's nice and cool that you can see that I'm on activity work order, but I'm coming from customer care. Let's see. I have to create one, right? To do the see the print.
Yes.
Reason why you can't jump back immediately to customer care via the breadcrumbs is that when you jump into creating a work order, it puts you right into edit mode.
Correct.
Okay, let's save that. Oh, okay. Dispatch to. Well, let
You gotta
me.
click on edit.
That's good. I
That's
want
okay.
to show. I want to show this. I'm gonna click print because that just give me another extent of my breadcrumbs here. I can submit here. Here is my report. I'm seeing my output here. Work order print. Right, and then I think we saw this with the guys. You can click in here and then see your report in a whole different window. And it's easy enough to just go ahead and see where I'm at right here. Click on work order, go back to customer care. So whole different approach, a lot cleaner and faster, more efficient. Okay, let's see. Now let's just see if I can illustrate multitasking on well, at least the browsers that we use, Chrome and Firefox. If you hit F12, you can see the developers window. Okay, so I'm going to open that. I'm going to do the same exercise that Sunny did. Okay. Just hit edit, made a change, and hit save. Okay. So what's happening here is that I'm right here. This other stuff. I loaded stuff and I saved it. And you can see over here that none of those took over 200 seconds. They all take milliseconds. Now let me show you. So that is one type of tasking, right? That type of tasking that I just did got processed through my multi-thread. Reporting. I think this is the same report that Miguel was playing with. Okay. So I did a report. It called my task activity. It was populating the log, and it finished, giving my output. Okay, so this time, besides loading, it realized that as I asked the program to do something, it already knew it was going to take long, so it started putting on TT. Anything that has a TT, that's a temporary table. So it realized that it's going to take longer, puts it in temporary table. Then it goes into a process of waiting for a response. So what this does, once it realizes that it's going to take long, it's just sitting there waiting for a response. Well, we can just leave this running because now this character client is not asked to look for that 20-second timing. He's just going to process. This is the one that multi-training is the one that's going to take care of that. Waits for other respond, and then it loads your data, and then you can see the output here once it finishes. So that is one quick illustration that to show you the two different multitaskings. F12 is available on Chrome and Firefox, and it's a cool, nice little tool. We sometimes use it to determine a problem. When something's failing, we can go in here and figure out what the problem is. Okay, so that's customer care, and on the last page, I just have the links of stuff that I mentioned, like what did I say? Conquer, divide and conquer, algorithm, breadcrumbs, multi-threading computing. Okay, how you guys doing? Have you fallen asleep? This next one is pretty boring. That's actually pretty interesting. You guys ready for the next one?
Brendan, do you guys have any hard stops? Okay.
Alright, so ready for the next one? The next one's set up. Let me close those. Okay, so on the old system, we had this item here, setups. This, in order for the system to work, in order for our business logic to work, there has to be settings in the system to help the data execute something, right? So update rates, for instance. If I don't have any rates, the logic of the program cannot calculate the usage and come out with the bill. So that has to be entered in the system. So in this setup, the main data that has to be entered for the business logic to function is in here, in this setup here. Rates, user profiles, district profiles, mainly those three. Now, throughout the system, and this system is as we grew, we added setup screens within the system. Don't ask me why. For whatever reason, instead of just grouping them in the same place as setup, you probably already noticed that. For instance, type of account. I can go in here. And this is not just a display where I can pick and choose a type of account. This is an edit screen as well. This is where I can add, edit an item in this screen. Let's see. Yep. Here's another one. Right? If I go here, multi-owner, that's one. Banking ACH. That's another one. So within the program, there's several setup screens as well to make the business logic work. Okay, all those setups, we're gonna find them in the hamburger. We're gonna find the hamburger menu. Yeah, right here. So let's use this one. They're going to be in the hamburger menu. Okay. The hamburger menu, I guess the best way that I could think of so that it makes sense to me is to think of this hamburger menu and break it into the business logic framework and the fluid framework. And when I mention fluid framework, I'm talking about the Windows or the web application part of it. Fluid is actually part of the name of this thing. Fluid is also the database that houses this information. So fluid framework and business logic. Fluid framework has to do with this framework. The business logic has to do with the utility billing logic. The stuff that I just talked about, all the settings that have to be in place for the business logic to work. Okay. All right, so knowing that, administration, this here is going to be strictly for fluid framework. Setup is going to be strictly for business logic. Utility is going to be strictly for business logic. This last one here is strictly fluid framework. All right. So let's go in this first one. Activities and menus. So activities and menus has to do with menus that strictly have to do with the fluid framework. Let's look at this one, activity definition maintenance. As soon as I click on this one, it also opens a tab here. And I can do a search. Let me look for an activity that I know about.
Close it.
Okay, so here's an activity. Sonia kind of touched on this, but now we have a different view of the activities here. And you probably, let me quiz you now. Do you guys remember that Sonia mentioned that all the old programs are going to still be in the WinUB folder, and the new stuff is going to be in the WebUB. And he also mentioned that the programs, the .art stuff, is going to be on the OpenEdge, right? And within here we have all the programs divided in different activities and better breakdown and better naming convention. Okay. All that information is break or group in menus. We have access to view all the all that fluid framework within here, and change basic information. This view, this activity that I just called about view, is this here. System information. See the label? It's hard to see. See this label, system information? That's this. That's this screen right here. Okay. Well, here, let me show you some of the things that you can do here. Let me do.
You did.
Oh, okay.
I did?
You did. You just, I don't think this is it.
This is it. I'm confusing them. It's this one.
Yeah.
No, that's the right. That's the right one. Let's see.
I'm going to give clients access.
Right here.
There it is. That's
Right here. Okay. So details. Use to define. Yeah, this is getting pretty deep, right? Okay, so just remember that this administration, it has to do with the fluid framework. And actually you can do changes here. The cool thing about making changes here is so this is this window here.
That did change.
Right? Is that it's changed? Look, I guess I just need to refresh.
Yes.
Okay, so 2018 made that change by making that. Let's see if we can change that. Close that. So by reading the script right here, see right there, it just kind of makes sense, right? It sees my name, it calls an activity, then it tells me, okay, this next thing is the title. That makes sense. That looks like that is the title. By looking at this screen, it makes sense. Yeah, that's the title. I can see what you read. And then it gives the width and stuff. So I'm going to go in here. Hit save. Oh, okay. Took a little while to save. 2018. Okay. So when we first got demoed the system, when we first started the conversation, it was a big deal for our team, for the sales, that the user has the chance to customize their screens. Okay? And they say, yes, we can customize it, and they come up with this thing here. I have not played with it a lot. I've done changes like this at the beginning. When we first released this to the beta sites, we were hiding menus. So this is where I used to go and hide the menus, just delete them. So yes, there's ways that the user can customize their screens, and I haven't figured out if I can change the color. I'm sure I can. But you can make quick changes on the fly. The problem with this, the issue with this is that as soon as I made the changes, that means that on my server, right? My server, those changes got made into my OpenEdge folder. They got applied here. They're saved. Next time there's a release, if we make new changes and release and push this out to them and send a full release, I'm going to be overlaying their setups. So we have to be careful on I guess, showing this to the client that yes, they will have access, but if they have access, then there's a set of things that they will have to do and be responsible of, because we're going to send releases out. They will have to manage their changes, and they're easy enough. I mean, you can back up that folder, this OpenEdge, and whatever settings they're changing, they will have to know, like the view, that file, the activity that I change is in here. Menus. So it's in the menu folder, and about view. So I just changed those in this menu. So I will have to back up my menu folder, right? And know that if Miguel is sending me a release, I could say yes, go ahead and send the release, but I will have to do my job and put my menu back. Let's see. Back to, I'm using that, I'm using this. Activity definition maintenance, that's the one, that's this one here. So that's the where you can make changes. This next one. Menu maintenance. I'm just gonna hit click find. To the easiest way to explain this is to group by parent. Okay, so the fluid framework is a tree. It has a branch. It has this branch, and then it has this trunk and a bunch of branches. So each branch is a menu parent. All the system is handled by those branches right here that you see here. Why would you care? I guess from a perspective of a designer or a programmer, this is very helpful information. An end user, someone that deals with payments and billing, they probably won't even care to bother this information. They would just call us and say, look, I feel like I don't have a way to search by something. I think you should have something out here. And this will be something that we looked at and say, okay, let's look at this. We have a menu for samples, for meter inventory, mass menus, main menus, export. We have a menus for customer care, administration, activities, system, and there's something that has none. That would be my first reaction. What is this? If I click on none, there's no apparent, but I can see that this here, if you see billing dashboard, customer dashboard, meter dashboard, payment dashboard, those right here. They're right here. Now something that we're familiar with this name, customer care. Customer care account type, bank draft menu. That just that right there sounds familiar, right? You guys have that sounds familiar? Just bank draft menu. This is where all those setup menus are located. This is a breakdown of this right here. Of this. This sort option right there is the way that they can be ordered by changing, and notice that there's gaps. So this is a quick way that I can just move you manage to the top and move that one to the back without asking a programmer, hey, can you change this, the order of this here? That's the most useful way that you can do this. It's already past 12:10. I knew it was going to take a while. Sunny knew and Sarah knew, Miguel knew. So we can stop here